part of a new great sounding saturation bundle, Waves Abbey Road Saturator. This one doesn't just emulate one specific unit, but a chain, a combo of units, never commercially available, the Abbey Road studios were using. Let's take a look. Hello everyone, welcome back to MixbusTv. Hope you're having a great day. Before we start, check the info box down below for my mixing courses on Pro Mix Academy, metal, hip-hop, recording drums, and a bunch of special offers and discounts on plugin, including this one, Waves Abbey Road Saturator. And this is a really interesting plugin. It doesn't emulate, like I said, one specific unit, but a chain. Specifically, the ultra-rare MEI TG12321 Compander. The only information I found is in the book Recording Beatles. So this is how rare this unit was. There was probably only one at only Abbey Road, of course. And as we know from previous collection they released, Waves has access to Abbey Road secret gear collection. I was really curious about this plugin. I had it for about 10 days before the release, so I had time to play with it and get to know it, and I really like it. Not just the sound of it, but the features. So this plugin basically emulates, like I said, the TG12321 Compander, so a special kind of compressor, a dynamic processor that they had at Abbey Road, feeding into the desk preamps of either the Red or the EMI 12345 consoles. That's what gives us the saturation. And on the plugin we have both options. They sound great, they're so different from each other. Let's take a look at the GUI. We have an input knob to adjust the incoming level of the signal, and the stereo version of this plugin is of course mid-side. So with this switch here you can adjust the level for the mid channel independently from the side channel, or stereo, in which case the main input knob is working. Then we have the first feature that I really like, pre-EQ. It might sound silly and simple, but whether you want to do subtle saturation or extreme distortion, EQing the signal before hitting the saturation stage with any saturator is key to get a really good sounding saturation, a legit analog sounding saturation. In this case, we also have a post EQ, which is as crucial as the pre-EQ. First in line, there is the Compander section, which you can of course bypass independently from the saturation. This, like I said, is a specific kind of dynamic processor, a compressor. We will hear it in a minute. And we can drive it here with this knob. We also have a high pass and low pass filter for this one. 2K, 1.5, 750, you can read it, and then the saturation stage finally. So here you have your gain 0 to 100, and you have the two desk choices, TG and Red. Two completely different kind of saturation and sound. And then you have of course a mix knob, which is always welcome. Let's hear how this sound. I will start with a female vocal that was recorded a little dull and dark, because one of the characteristics of this saturator, and specifically the Compander section, is this high-end enhancement that it has, and it changes dramatically when you switch the phase here. So let's hear it in action.
I've been dancing with the wolves in my head, painting pictures of confusion. Am I mad? Underestimating all the rules I've said. I've been craving for Somali's acting strange, I call it funny. I'm trapped in illusion again. I see no barriers in front of me, just possibilities. So baby, here I am.
You hear it immediately how it opens up the vocal, especially in the high range. This is a very colored plugin, even with the default settings, so it will not go well for all the material, especially if something is too bright, okay? But this is when the EQ comes into play. Let's push the saturation and hear the difference between the TG and the Red.
I've been dancing with the wolves in my head, painting pictures of confusion. Am I mad? Underestimating all the rules I've said. I've been craving for Somali's acting strange, I call it funny. I'm trapped in illusion again. I see no barriers in front of me, just possibilities. So baby, here I am.
All right, so completely different type of saturation and collection of harmonic. Because the TG goes into full distortion earlier than the Red, you tend to like the Red better. So when you compare, keep that in mind. The TG breaks up like at a lower gain compared to the Red. But let's play with the EQ a little bit, because it's not just subtle saturation, which I'm gonna play this last part here.
I've been craving for Somalis, acting strange, I call it funny. I'm trapped in illusion again. I see no barriers in front of me, just possibilities. So baby, here I am.
So right now I'm being very subtle. You hear how I picked this vocal for a reason. It's very dynamic, and this saturation reacts dynamically. It breaks up, if you set it correctly, it breaks up just right there when she goes in the higher notes and stay very subtle in the lowest part. Waves saturation in general. Sapphira is one of my favorite saturator. I've said it several times, but I also have a video on the 6 or 8 secret saturators hidden in, you know, some other Waves plugins like the API 2500. So Waves does saturation very well. I think this is, aside from Sapphira, this is the first time that they do a saturator plugin like this. But I'm glad that it's not one of the other all-purpose saturators, because first of all, they already have Sapphira, but this one has a specific color. Let's play with EQ, because this also reminds me of another plugin that I really like for special effects, which is Fuzzbox. You can box in any signal and create radio sounding effects, especially on effects themselves, like delay returns and reverbs. So let me play with that.
I've been craving for Somalis, acting strange, I call it funny. I'm trapped in illusion again. I see no barriers in front of me, just possibilities. So baby, here I am.
So you really get that radio effects. There's a quality in this saturation that I really like.
I've been craving for Somalis, acting strange, I call it funny. I'm trapped in illusion again. I see no barriers in front of me, just possibilities. So baby, here I am.
I'm going back to the default factory settings and I'm turning up the Compander. I want to turn down the saturation.
I've been craving for Somalis, acting strange, I call it funny. I'm trapped in illusion again. I see no barriers in front of me, just possibilities. So baby, here I am.
So you hear the Compander is a completely different sound. It's a basically another plugin, another processor. And the drive basically decides how bright you want the result.
I've been craving for Somalis, acting strange, I call it funny. I'm trapped in illusion again. I see no barriers in front of me, just possibilities. So baby, here I am.
Okay, it gets really bright to the point that you might want to use an EQ. But remember, this is the emulation of a vintage unit, actually too. The material was coming from tape at Abbey Road, not from computers. So more often than not, they needed high-end. Keep that in mind when you work on digital tracks, okay? Because I can tell you, like, I really, really like the saturation and the behavior of this plugin. You just need to get familiar with it and know how to use it, because everything that is brighter, it sounds better at first. And then if you start stacking things that are brighter, your mix, it's harsh. Let's combine the two, Compander and Saturator.
I've been craving for Somalis, acting strange, I call it funny. I'm trapped in illusion again. I see no barriers in front of me, just possibilities. So baby, here I am.
This was an overview. Let's try really quick on different materials, like some beats, some guitar, some bass, and see how it sounds. Let's try with the loop first. I'm trying to level match. So you can hear it adds a lot of high end. We are in TG mode. Let's try red. All All right, so for modern material, keep two things in mind. You're hearing it with this loop. The saturation shaves off the transient quite a bit. I'm using high amount of saturation right now because I want to hear the limit of it, but it shaves the transient off quite a bit, and we can see it from the level meter as well. And on bass heavy material like a loop like this one with a big kick, we lose a little bit of low end. Also because it is also a psychoacoustic effect because it adds a lot of high end. So that's where you want to use the post EQ to inject some low end back. Let's try something else, some acoustic instrument or a drum, for example. And the Compander is really nice. Again, it changes so much when you switch the face button. It says it in the manual, actually, that is a normal behavior. It's funny because this guitar seems to sound right with it on than how it was recorded naturally. Granted, that is in solo. Again, don't get fooled by the high end, but it sounds really nice. It's a very interesting sound, again, different from any other saturator. Well, it adds a nice growl. Like I said before, watch the low end because we're losing a little bit, but we can compensate easily with the EQ. Anyway, this is it. This was the new Waves Abbey Road Saturator. Cool idea to model the whole chain using Abbey Road instead of one specific unit. It makes it more versatile, even though this is a very specific vintage color and character. This is it for this video. If you liked it, please don't forget to leave a like. Link to the plugins in the info box down below. If you have any question, leave it in the comment. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. See you next time.